two families in two different countries were murdered the exact same way, just months apart, and somehow both cases were never solved. Hello, lovelies. I'm Summer. This is All Day Mystery. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you are new, brand new, welcome. Stay tuned. Have some coffee with me. Have some tea. Whatever you would like. Let's do this. We talk about true crime, a little bit of mystery, maybe a lot of mystery. Today's story, this one connects two axe murders in two different countries in the exact same year. Germany, March 1912. Before the famous American axe murder you've probably heard about, and you probably clicked this video to learn about, something almost identical happened on a tiny farm in Germany. 6 people lived on that farm, and every single one of them was killed with an axe. Before we get into what happened, I want to slow this down just for a second, because it wasn't just a crime scene. There were real people living normal lives with no idea what was coming. On this farm lived 6 people. Andreas Gruber, the father, 59 years old. He was strict, he was hardworking. He ran the farm and everything on it. And it makes sense, being the father. If I say this name wrong, I do apologize. Kazilia Gruber, the mother, she was apparently 72. She helped the household. She helped running the household. Spent most of her time inside the home, probably taking care of the children, housework. And then there's Victoria Gruber, their daughter, 35. She was a widow, raising 2 children. She helped manage both the house and the farm. Kazilia Gruber, the young daughter, just 7, she went to school in the nearby village and had a normal childhood. As much as she could on a remote farm, that is. And then we have Joseph, who was the toddler, and he was only 2. He was too young to understand what was about to happen to this farm. Maria Baumgartner was the maid. I cannot say names whatsoever. I'm so sorry. We also had the maid that lived on the farm as well, Marie. She was 44. And this part matters. She had just arrived at that farm the same day the murders happened. Her very first night there would be her last. March 31st, 1912, started like any other day. Little Kazilia went to school, but something strange had already happened days before. She told classmates that the house might be haunted because she had been hearing noises coming from the attic back at the farm. Back at the farm, Andreas, the father, had mentioned finding footprints in the snow leading to the house, but none leading away from it. Where did these footprints come from? He also reported hearing footsteps above them in the attic, but every time he checked, there was no one there. Like, where did they go? Keys had gone missing. Objects weren't where they should have been. Small things, but enough to feel like something wasn't right. That evening, the family settled down just like any other evening. The new maid, Maria, arrived and was shown around the house. She had no idea about the strange things that had been happening. Dinner was likely prepared. Animals were fed, I'm sure. The routines of the farm life completely normal. Night fell, and one by one, members of the family were lured out to the barn. Whatever was waiting for them was already there. Remember, they talked about hearing, footsteps in the attic, so there was something there. Neighbors hadn't seen the family for days. Mail was piling up. Something felt off. So they went to check the barn, and this is after that night. And that's where they found the first bodies. One by one, the family had been lured inside and killed. The mother, the father, the grandmother. Then they went inside the house, and that's when it got worse. The 2 children and the new maid, they were found murdered in their beds. But here's what makes the case different. Someone had been feeding the animals, someone had been eating food in the kitchen. The fireplace had been used, which means the killer stayed there, living in the house with the bodies for days. The fact that they stayed after, that's confidence that I don't have and I would never want. The main suspect was a neighbor, Lorenz Schützenlittelbarrow. Again, I can't say names. I am sorry. I apologize. He helped discover the bodies, but people said he acted strangely calm. He knew his way around the property a little too well, but there was never enough proof to charge him. I'm not saying it was him, but I am saying he seemed a little too familiar with everything going on. But then again, he was a neighbor, and he may have helped them a lot. I don't know. Just a few months later, the same kind of crime happened in a quiet little town in Iowa, Villisca. A normal family, mom, dad, 4 kids. And this happened in 1912 also. And 2 little girls sleeping over after church. Josiah Moore spent the day working, handling business, moving throughout a routine he'd done countless times before. Sarah was at home taking care of things, keeping the house running, making sure everything was in place for her family. The kids went about their day like kids do. Herman, old enough to have responsibilities, helping out, but still just a kid at the end of the day. Catherine, talking with friends, making plans, excited about the idea of a sleepover. Boyd and Paul were playing, following their older siblings around, filling the house with noise the way kids do. And that night, they all went to church together, sitting side by side, part of a normal evening in a small town. Afterward, Catherine invited Lena and Ina to come stay the night. And they did. So the house filled up a little more voices, more movement. At some point, the lights went out. Everyone went to bed. No panic, no warning, nothing to suggest anything was wrong or that anything was going to happen. The kids probably staying up longer than they really should have. Josiah and Sarah were there, settling in for the night with a full house and everything exactly as it should be. They had no idea this would be their last night. The next morning, a neighbor noticed something wasn't right. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Mirrors in the house had been covered. A plate of food was left out. And just like the German case, it looked like the killer had taken their time. Okay, but wait. Can we talk about the mirrors for a second? Because I'm not gonna lie, if I just did something like that horrific, I wouldn't want to look at myself either. Or does it mean something else? I don't know. So we're going to go over the suspects. Over the years, several people were suspected, and somehow none of them were ever proven guilty. One of the most interesting suspects was William Mansfield, because this wasn't the only axe murder connected to him. He was linked to multiple family killings across different states. Same pattern, same weapon, same thing. And here's where it gets weird. He was believed to be near areas where these murders happened, including around the time of Villisca. So either he was incredibly unlucky or he was something much worse. Another suspect was a traveling preacher named Reverend George Kelly. And he was a weird one. He was in town the night of the murders, and he left shortly after. But personal jealousy, or even a woman involved, somewhere in the background. I tried looking this up and I really couldn't find anything about it, just that it's not factual information. But who knows? I want to be clear, there is no proof of that. No confirmed relationship, no confirmed motive tied to a woman. Nothing concrete that ever held up in court or investigation. It's just the kind of thing people start to whisper about when a case doesn't make sense and someone powerful is involved. So Frank Jones remains what he's always been in this story, not a proven suspect, but a name that sits in theory, section of history. I'm sorry, but over business or a woman? Okay. If that is true, sir, there were at least 100 steps that you could have taken before this one. The theory is this wasn't random, that he may have hired someone to do it. But again, no proof. And finally, we have Henry Moore, a convicted axe murderer. There's a lot of those during this time. Crazy how they can walk free. His crimes followed the exact same pattern. Families at night in their beds. Gone. Investigators wondered, could Villisca have been one of his early crimes? But the timeline doesn't fully match. And just like the others, no solid evidence. And now here's something a lot of people don't know. The crime scene itself may have revealed something about the killer. Blood cast off was found on the ceiling, but lower than expected. That suggests that person swinging the axe may have been short. The strike angles were also flatter, not steep, like you would expect from a tall adult standing over a bed. And the beds weren't heavily disturbed, meaning the killer likely didn't climb onto them. All of this points to one thing. The killer's natural striking height was lower than expected. In simple terms, they were probably not tall. Like I said, they were short. And even after the farm was gone, people said the land never felt right. When you look at both of these cases, it's not just the violence that stays with you. It's everything that doesn't make sense. The gaps, the missing answers, the feeling that something was missed. I don't know if I believe in anything paranormal that ties to these places. I can't say that it's not true because I do believe in paranormal. But I do think something this violent leaves an impact. Whether that shows up as ghosts, ghost stories, or just a feeling you can't explain. I just hope that the victims found some kind of peace, some kind of closure, because they didn't deserve what happened to them. Two families that had to deal with this in two different places, two countries, same year, same weapon, same pattern, and somehow both remain unsolved. Thank you for watching with me today, for spending time with me today. I really do appreciate it. If you like true crime, if you like a little bit of mystery, I do too. I like to research it. I like to talk about it. So subscribe, stay tuned, and as always, watch your back and don't touch strangers.